Welcome everybody. It's Alexi J. McDonald here from Above and Beyond Reality. Thank you for joining us on our Conscious Conversations interview series with PSYCH-K facilitators from all around the world. I'm joined here with Tanya Levy from In Purpose. Thank you so much for joining us, Tanya. How are you today?
I'm fabulous, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fabulous also. Love it. Love being here with you. Firstly, I suppose we'll just start with your story. So I met you at the Advanced Integration Workshop, which I was so grateful for meeting you. You were the mother nature of the workshop. It was so beautiful. It was pretty exciting for me at a really exciting time in my life. Perhaps you could just start by sharing a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do and how PSYCH-K came to you.
Thanks. I've discovered PSYCH-K about 5 years ago. I've actually been in the wellness industry for about 25 years, teaching yoga, meditation, taking people on retreats, and doing lots of hands-on healing and with all sorts of different modalities. And what I was finding is that people would take one step forward and then 3 steps back because their habitual patterns and their limiting beliefs would kick in again and they would start repeating their old behaviours. So I really started to see this coming about in my clients, and I just really pinpointed that people just needed to change their beliefs. And I actually really didn't know how to do that. And it was by chance one night, right in the middle of the night, I was woken up and I knew I was wide awake and had to do something. I just didn't know what I had to do. So I went and sat in my yoga room thinking, why am I awake? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I should be sleeping, but no. So then I sort of thought I'll just go on my computer, do a bit of emailing while I'm sort of waiting for this inspiration to drop in as to why I'm awake. And the next thing you know, I saw from Hay House actually that I had an email and it says how to change your limiting beliefs. And so I clicked on that and lo and behold, our beautiful friend Bruce Lipton was on there. There was a bit of a chat from him and he was talking about how to remove limiting beliefs. So naturally I sat there and I was listening to his whole talk, talking to us about what to do with our limiting beliefs. And right at the end, he kind of mentioned PSYCH-K. And I thought, hang on, I've not heard of that before. I've heard lots of other things, but not that. I rewound it about 5 times and he kept saying PSYCH-K, PSYCH-K. I'm thinking, what is this PSYCH-K? So I straight away Googled it. And lo and behold, it sounded exactly like what I needed for myself, actually, with a few things that I was working on personally and also with my clients. And then I found out that Ian Spicer was actually having a basic course in Sydney in a couple of weeks. And what was remarkable is that I had something on in a couple of weeks. And so I thought, oh, goodness, I can't make it. But then 2 days later, that something got cancelled. And the next thing you know, I was booked in to do the basic and flew up to Sydney for it and did the basic. And wow, that just was the start of a whole new stage of my own life and the way I was able to really help other people finding their own purpose with it. So it was just a really big transformation and in my life. It really was amazing. Haven't looked back since. I've done everything now.
PSYCH-K junkies, aren't we? I love it.
Well, once I did the first one, I couldn't stop. 2 weeks later, I was up in Brisbane doing the next one, and then and so on and so forth. So it's been really exciting, and it's just a huge game changer.
Yeah, awesome. I like that you say that you were working with people before. You know, it was 2 steps or 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And so since then, now that you work with PSYCH-K, how do you find that your clients are moving forward?
Well, Alex, I just find it actually quite amazing in terms of the way it changes people's lives. And so much so that when I'm first talking to somebody, when they come to me, they're looking to address their stress or change their life or looking for a purpose, I actually start in my first session and say to them, listen, I'm just telling you that you're going to experience such a transformation in your life. Are you really wanting to change? That is a question I ask every single person I work with on the first time. Are you sure you really want to change? Because, people come and they say they want to change. And then what I was finding is they'd ring me up and say, oh my goodness, my life has really changed. And I'm like, well, you wanted change, that's why you came, and that's what we see with the PSYCH-K process. So now it's actually something I ask people before we even start doing anything, because the results are so verifiable and so, you know, it's so easy for people to see the changes in their lives. Some people, it's like from the minute they leave, and from other people, it depends on, you know, life circumstances in order for them to see what the changes are. But I've never seen anything like it. And I could fill a whole wall with all the different certificates I've done with all the different processes. But this is pretty much the only thing really that I use with people, because there's just nothing else around like it on the market. You know, that's just all there is to say. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it is important to identify that, because often, you know, when we ask for change, we don't really know what we're asking for. We look at the symptoms in our life, but the cause is something completely different. And would you agree that that's what PSYCH-K deals with?
Yeah, I find it's amazing, and with how it's such a simple process, and I think that's what people find really hard to come to terms with, that they can do something that's so simple and have such a huge and everlasting effect in their life. But the results just speak for themselves. And, you know, you can start with something simple. And then I think what I find with my sessions is what people come for initially is not necessarily what we end up working with. Because like you say, it's the symptom that you start with in the beginning. But then once they start talking and you know, with the PSYCH-K processes, what's so amazing is that it's the person that you're working with, they're in charge of the session. We as facilitators just happen to have a process like K that works well with them, but they're actually in charge. And I find that as they start to go through and continue with their PSYCH-K sessions, they take their own power back. And they then realise that they're the person that's in control of their own life. They're the person that knows what's best for them. And then as they stand more and more in their power, then the sessions just go to a whole nother level, and they really start to see what's limiting them. And then as they change things, it becomes more and more obvious what's holding them back. And then it's just so easy just to knock things off. And then these massive transformations come, as we all know, anyone that's done, you know, quite a few sessions of PSYCH-K. And it's just such an amazing process. And it's such a gift that I find as a facilitator, as I'm sure you feel the same way. It's what an honour and a privilege that we have, that we can help people in such an easy and effective way to make such big changes.
Yeah, I am eternally grateful. It's so rewarding, and I really encourage that people show to come and say, look, this is something that I've been dealing with. And often it's things I've been dealing with for 30, 40, depending on the age of the person. How long are these conditioning and patterns of behaviour hanging around, and it changes just in the space of minutes for them. I'm so grateful for it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really huge with all of that in terms of the way it changes people's lives. It's great.
Wonderful. So, considering we're on that topic right now, perhaps do you have an example of something that you in your personal life, or a partner that you've worked with has shifted?
I've got so many. It's like where to start. I'm going to start with something for myself, which was one of the first lot of balances that I did when I started with the PSYCH-K. I'm a single mum and was separated at the time. And one of the things that was happening is that every time I used to see my ex, that I used to just have an internal meltdown. I was so overwhelmed and stressed. Anytime I saw a text from him, or I'd see him walking down the front pathway of my house, I was just like, little mini meltdown. And it was terrible. I was in this constant state of inner anxiety. And yes, I could go and do yoga, and yes, I could go and do meditation, but it took time, and it was just too hard to find something that I was able to maintain, because obviously we're still communicating. We have 2 children together. So I did a whole lot of transforming the perception of stress around him, his emails, his text, seeing him and everything. And, I did that all in the basic, I must say. So you can do amazing things in just the basic. And I left, and I was kind of, I'm a little bit skeptical with things when I do them the first time. I want evidence in terms of for me to take it on and to work with it. And sure enough, when I left that afternoon, or that evening I should say, he'd sent me a text because he had the kids, and I knew I was going to have to see him later on. And so the text came through, and all of a sudden I'm sort of looking at the text and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not having this internal meltdown that I used to always have. And I thought, oh, that's good. So maybe that's worked. But then I came home later that night and he brought the kids over. And again, normally when I just see his face, I would just go into be a nervous wreck, and I couldn't even think properly. My mind was so messed up just by the thought of seeing or being around him. And he's walking down the pathway into my home, and it was like nothing. I was like, I was almost looking for the response that was happening. And it was probably about a good year that this was happening. So already it was a habit that had been formed. But after one weekend, it had stopped. And so I was so amazed. And I thought, okay, surely it's going to happen again tomorrow or the next time. But not once has it happened since then. And not only that, I mean, once you do the advanced process, there's a fantastic process that you do, which is a relationship balance, which I've also done with him. And now we're really good friends. So we're not even, it's not even hard to see him. I actually enjoy his company. We've become really good friends. We hang out together. We can go for dinner with the kids. And really that's all to do with the processes that I've done with the PSYCH-K. And I haven't done anything to do with him. It's just really, it's all about me and how I've transformed myself. And it's just been unbelievable. And it's just allowed me to do something. And it was in a weekend. It was amazing.
It's huge.
So that's my favourite story.
Yeah, good one. I love that story. And so many people would resonate with that, because especially in relationships where love is involved and we're really attached to our partners, when that's taken away, we are so volatile and reactive in that relationship. So it's amazing that you can align with your response, your ability to respond rather than react to these situations. It's wonderful. In a weekend.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a game changer. And what was so amazing, which I think most people find after they've even just done the basic course, is that straight away you do the balances and you can see the change. There it is right there. And it's amazing, powerful process that I use with a lot of people to address their own stress. Because, as we all know, that when we're in a state of stress, when we're having a stress response, that muscle between the two hemispheres of the brain hardens and we're no longer able to think or see clearly. So being able to use that simple tool to help us, I have to do it. I'm a mother with two kids, so even just having to deal with my children on a day-to-day basis, or, going into a bank and then not having to worry about my whole body shutting down. It's like so fantastic. It's just great.
Yeah. I know someone very close to me, she had a panic attack. She used to get panic attacks, and she had a panic attack one day when she couldn't find a parking space. And like this is a real experience for people, it's just that brain goes into shut down and melts down. And she's been working through it so much on her own life, and now she's just an empowered individual. So to be able to go from that to being somebody who can go and do whatever they choose without having that story saying to themselves, and that bodily response of anxiety and panic is it's not even a magic pill you're taking or anything. We're just aligning and using our brain as we should be using it. So that's amazing. I love that.
It's really fantastic. And I must say I've worked a lot with kids, Alex, and particularly recently I was working with a boy who had huge amounts of anxiety. And, just using some of the processes with the PSYCH-K and doing some balances, he was unable to go to sleep by himself. He was unable to stay asleep. He could not sleep out. He couldn't go to camps. I mean, just so much anxiety stopped him from engaging in life. And he's 12 years old. And within just a few sessions, we've been able to completely transform all that stress. He's just recently gone on a camp for 4 days and was totally happy to go, didn't even need to his mum to hang around at the goodbye at the buses or anything. He actually rang me up when he came home from the camp to say thank you because he's got his life back and he can engage with his friends and everything. He doesn't need his mum sitting on the bed for the rest of the life. The amount of kisses she's given me because she doesn't have to hang around for an hour every night while he falls to sleep. And I mean, what an amazing way for him to take back control of his own life. And it's just, amazing.
As a 12,
and they've tried so many other things too.
And he's only 12.
Yeah.
Wow. So you work with
Brilliant.
kids quite a lot, and kids, how do they respond to this?
Kids are amazing, actually. I've been doing more and more kids, mostly probably, what's the youngest I've done? I recently did another, actually, young girl who's only 8. And she had one session, same thing with camp and everything, was stressed about leaving her mum. No problem. One session, all sorted. Off she went to camp and everything. And I find kids are unbelievable because they know exactly what they want. It's really, really easy for them to balance for what they want. They don't have so much mental conditioning like us adults do. I work with a lot of teenagers who are dealing with, their day-to-day stresses of being teenagers and, lack of self-esteem and not having courage or confidence to do the things that they want to do, and their self-worth, which is a really big one across the board for teenagers, adults, everything, and just really helping people to instill their own inner confidence and courage is, it's just amazing. But the kids are fantastic. So I seem to be getting a lot of parents now who are bringing their kids in. So that's really an interesting and fun place to be in too.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially in this day and age with all social media and everything, and our young, malleable minds are getting so much information from everywhere. To be able to help the young generation actually decide what it is that they want and align their subconscious beliefs with that, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really great. So.
And I think what's also really important, which I very much got from PSYCH-K and from my beautiful friend Rosie Pletzer, is very much that, it's really about thinking about what you do want in life. The amount of energy that we place in saying, I don't want this, I don't want any more of that, I don't want to be afraid, I don't want to be scared, I don't want to smoke anymore, whatever it might be, rather than why are we not placing all of our attention on what we want to create in the world? Where is it that we are wanting to move to? And instead of using that negative language in terms of what we want to move away from, let's focus actually on what we do want to create in life. And I think that that's a real gift that PSYCH-K brings to people because it puts us in the mind of what do we want? And that's not a question that we're encouraged to ask ourselves a lot. It's always looking at what life is and seeing what we don't want. But really, if we put some time and energy into focusing on what is it that we want to create in life, and that just starts to get the cogs in the brain moving in such a different way, and that is so empowering in itself. So, and I think for me that's been a real gift that's also come through PSYCH-K. For me, sitting in so many courses with Rosie, from working with Ian and Duccio, and it's just been amazing in terms of that real focus on let's be positive and let's really be the creators in our life. And now here with the PSYCH-K, you've got this amazing tool where you can anchor in whatever you want in your life at that subconscious level, which we know is responsible for 95% of everything that we think and do and behave and act and everything.
Yeah, and that's proven now. Science is proving that now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's because many of us and people that are watching now, they probably resonate with. We think about what we don't want a lot more than what we do want. Why do you think that is?
I'm not too sure. I think it's something that we're programmed to do in life. Unfortunately, especially when we're reprimanding children and things like that, we're always focusing on the negative, what we don't want them to do, rather than telling kids, steering them away from what they're not supposed to do and focusing on you want to be doing more of this. So I think it comes in from that patterning which is really instilled at a subconscious level of mind from the family and from the educational institutions. And so then, you know, we're always focusing on what we don't want rather than what we do want. So I think as a collective in society, you know, the more people that are really working together to focus on what we do want, I think as a collective we can change that belief that is held at a societal level. But unfortunately, when you talk to anyone, that's the first point of call. They can tell you very easily what they don't want, but then when you ask them the question, well, what do you want instead? It's like,
I don't know.
And, you know, isn't it incredible? And
Yeah.
but then all of a sudden it's interesting because when you arm them with the fact that they can choose, you can choose, and you're actually allowed to think about it. And then what is it that you do to work towards that rather than emphasizing, I don't want that, you know, very empowering.
And it's important because the subconscious, our thoughts create our reality. So if all we're thinking about is what we don't want, there's a very high chance that's exactly what we're going to get. So
and you're just re-energizing what you don't want rather than energizing what you do want, you know. And that really, we would need to work on that and have that in our, especially when you can anchor it in at the subconscious level of mind with the PSYCH-K balances. Then it's going to take something at a conscious level, which is responsible for 5% of what we do and how we behave and our beliefs and perceptions. When we anchor that in with the balance, then it moves up to a 95% influence over us, it's massive. It's really massive.
Yeah. It's truly wonderful to be a part of.
Okay,
cool. So, sorry, you continue.
No, that's okay.
Cool. Okay, so we're about to enter into a new decade. What's going on with Tanya? What's happening next year? What are some of the things you've got? I know you have some programs and things that you love doing, and you work with many different people. So what's some of the things that are going to be percolating in your world next year?
So it's very exciting for me next year. I've got a huge year planned, and one of the biggest things is I'm going to be 50, which is very exciting. And I tend to rock being 50. Actually, I've decided that's the belief that I'm going with. That it's going to be a really fabulous, and 50 is what I'm going for. So, so I've got that in mind for next year. I've also got, I teach yoga and self-development and personal development retreats, and I'm planning one for end of May in Greece, and I'm planning another one for Bali in mid-October. So that's really exciting. It's the first time I've ever done 2 in 1 year, so that's great. Awesome. I also work with another lady for for something where we do women's retreats, which is women, wellness, fun and friendship, and that's called Meet Treat Retreats. And we're teaching women to really take back the control in their life and be confident and self-care, and also because bringing women together to be silly and to be fun, because as you know, I'm a little bit of a queen of being silly and having fun. So sharing that, I'm pretty passionate to share that with other people, so that's really great. And so we've got a few of those. My practice is just getting busier and busier, really taking, I've just put up my new website for In Purpose. And I'm really working with people to remove all their resistances to life. I've been doing a lot of focus on teaching people to address their stress, going into corporations and doing talks for them, which has been amazing. I'm really passionate about helping people find their own purpose. So that's a really big one to focus on that. And self-worth and confidence. And so next year I'm hoping to run a few one-day workshops, really sort of working with people for that. So that's really exciting.
It is, and it's super exciting for anybody who's going to be working with you, because I know how amazing you are. You've helped me so much in my life, even just through conversations. We've had a couple of sessions together, over the years. But yeah, I'm so grateful for you and your our relationship. You know, I kind of consider you one of my mentors, and
Thank you.
Anybody who comes to any of those workshops or sessions with you is gonna absolutely enjoy it, and their life is gonna grow exponentially as a result. So
thank you. That's very nice.
thank you. So how can people find you? Anybody who's watching this that might be resonating, saying, "Oh yeah, I want to learn how to be fun and silly again."
Or be empowered. They could
Or
do that too.
Yeah.
I've got a fabulous new website, which is, you can find me at www.inpurpose.com.au. I can give my phone number. Am I allowed to do that?
Go for it if you wish. Yeah, why not?
Please feel free to give me a call on 0407 332212. And of course, that's in Australia. So if you are outside of Australia and you want to call me, you can, but you need the +1. It's +61, isn't it?
Yeah.
I am on social media. So you can find me, Tanya, Tanya, Levy, or otherwise my business page, which is In Purpose and White Lotus Yoga Center, and I'm on Instagram, and I don't do Twitter, so you can't find me there. But otherwise, you can always find me through the fantastic Alex. And I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to you, because all that you do and all that you are is amazing and amazingly inspiring to so many people. So big thank you to you too, and asking me to come on with you.
Thank you. I received that with a very open and grateful heart, and I really enjoy creating magic together with you, Tanya. I love our relationship. I love everything we've gone through together, and you know, even if it's just having conversations, I get so much out of it. Even if we haven't spoken for months, you're a beautiful person, and yeah, really excited for anybody who comes in contact with you. So. Thank you, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. It's really inspiring. I love it, and I hope that anybody who's listening and you have children that you would love to help. Tanya's obviously a person. She's been doing a lot of work with kids, and to be able to work with children and influence that next generation who are going to take our world and society to the next level, to have them as a whole-brained generation, that's going to be absolutely huge. So. Yeah, anything else you'd like to share just before we sign off? Maybe do you have any tips or some sort of takeaway for anybody listening?
I think the most important thing is for people to realise that they're in control of their own lives. You know, really, this is our dream that we have out here. And if your life is not, you know, isn't the life that you want, then PSYCH-K is the most amazing tool to really use to create the life you want. And we are co-creators of this life. You know, essentially, we're all in control of what we do. So learn to take your own power back. Yeah, it's really important that you don't give your power away to people or places or things, or even PSYCH-K. You're the power. It is a tool to help empower you, and you're the only one that's going to make the changes. So, you know, take back the reins of your life and, you know, become the architect of the life and the person that you want to be.
Boom. I don't think I could add any more to that than what you've just mentioned there. So thank you so much for joining us, Tanya. You're a wonderful person. Thank you for everybody for watching. So,
thank you. And lots of kisses to you and to everybody else out there, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's Alexi J. McDonald from Above and Beyond Reality here, tuning out from our Conscious Conversations. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.